show. Let's thank our sponsors that make it all possible: People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. On the line today, I have Illinois State Senator Steve McClure. He represents the 54th Senate District. How are you today, Senator McClure?
I'm doing well. Great to be with you.
So good to have you on the line today. So many things we want to get to know, and I do appreciate you being here. And I would like to announce to our listeners that Senator McClure will be a monthly guest. And yes, once again, we thank you for being here. Let's get right into it. Senator McClure, you've been busy lately. The fall veto session has wrapped up. Tell us what we need to know.
Well, the big bill that a lot of people locally have been talking to me about is that they wanted the Invest in Kids scholarship to continue. This has been a scholarship in effect for 6 years, where people across the state of Illinois can make contributions to the scholarship, and it goes to low-income students so that they can have school choice. And unfortunately, even though the students have been lining our chamber in the Senate and in the House for months, in fact, ever since the spring session, asking for legislators to save their scholarship, the Democrats in the Senate and in the House never called the bill that would extend the scholarship and extend the program past the end of this year. So now we have 9,500 low-income students who had been in failing schools that were nationally recognized as not performing well. They're now not able to continue those scholarships, and therefore now we're not sure where these kids are going to go to school and what's going to happen. And it's very, very sad, especially since a lot of the lawmakers who refuse to have a vote on the bill send their own kids to private schools. And it really kind of breaks my heart when you see all these kids that were so passionate, probably the first time they'll ever go to the Capitol to rally for something, to try to get support for something, and unfortunately they were totally ignored. So we're going to try to, as the Senate Republicans convenes again in the spring, we're going to try to do what we can to readdress this and bring this up again. But unfortunately, the program is set to end at the end of this year. And it's 9,500 low-income students that are not going to have scholarships anymore.
This is a very tough situation to navigate, and all these students that are without their funding to their private schools, this is tough. Now, what do you say to people that say the public school that they came from, that they escaped from, you could say that needs to be funded as well?
Well, that needs to be funded as well, and that's why it was important that part of the program was that any student that takes advantage of this scholarship is still counted as a member of that school district in that school that they were attending. So even though they're not attending the school, they're counted as a person attending the school for purposes of receiving state funding. So it didn't take away at all from the funding that the public school was getting, that the student was attending previously. It just gives this student another opportunity to go to a different school where maybe their reading programs, et cetera, are a little bit better.
Sure.
And so it really didn't affect public schools at all. That's kind of a misinformation that some of the people that were wanting the bill to not get called for a vote were saying. But the fact of the matter was that it didn't take away funding from public schools. All it did was help students that were in failing schools to get into better schools.
That makes a lot of sense, and we do appreciate you for clearing things up on that end. Now, furthermore, with the veto session, there were some aspects on crime that didn't sit quite well with you. Can you speak on those?
Absolutely. So one of the big things that a lot of folks that are law-abiding gun owners have talked about is the fact that Illinois seems to be targeting people that are not criminals, that just simply have different guns for hunting, for self-defense, for whatever. And the state of Illinois has been very harsh lately on law-abiding gun owners, and as you're aware, as your listeners are aware, there's several court cases now, and hopefully the United States Supreme Court is going to weigh in and let us know whether or not the ban on several types of guns is going to be enforced or not. I think that it's going to be ruled unconstitutional. We'll see. Anyway, well, after Illinois passes that, they then do not take up in the House a bill that would extend legislation that has stiffer penalties for people that are repeat gun offenders and felons caught with guns. So this was originally a bill passed by Kwame Raoul, who is now our Attorney General, and he was supportive of the bill continuing to be in effect. But unfortunately, while it passed the Senate and I voted for it, it did not get called in the House. So it's kind of a strange thing a strange signal to send to the people of Illinois, which is that if you have a gun that we don't like, all of a sudden, you could be in trouble for that. I mean, you could get prosecuted. And yet, if you're a person who is a felon caught with a gun, or a person who has repeated convictions for gun crimes and you're caught again, they want to make sure you have less penalties. So more penalties for people that are caught with guns just because they happen to have a gun that's not allowed, versus people that are felons that are doing bad with guns. They want them to have lesser penalties. So it doesn't make any sense at all. And it just kind of shows a lot of, it really showed a lot of people in the state that a lot of this gun stuff is purely political in nature. It's not really targeting crime. It's just wanting to get good press releases and things like that. And so that was kind of another bizarre piece of news out of veto session, was letting these criminals get away with gun possession while the law-abiding citizen's going to have to pay for gun possession. It's pretty bizarre.
Yeah, it seems weird. It's just strange, confusing, once again, to navigate. How does this work in with the Illinois assault weapons ban? I thought there had been maybe a list of weapons that weren't quite allowed for purchase anymore in Illinois. How does this work?
That's right. There are, first of all, one of the things that the gun ban does is it causes people that have guns that are no longer going to be allowed. They have to register those guns if they have them before the law took effect.
Okay.
And one of the things that I talked about on the floor during debate was that we have the Illinois State Police, who has already told us that they should not have any registration lists for any reason, because within the last 3 years they have been hacked. And therefore you have a list of guns and who has those guns everywhere in the state. What happens if a criminal were to hack into that system, which, as I said, the state police has already said that they have a problem securing that information? Then these criminals have access to what type of gun, where the gun is located, and who's the owner of that gun. And when I was a prosecutor, which was before I was a state senator, I had a case in which a criminal was targeting law enforcement homes to burglarize. And what was he stealing from those homes? He was stealing guns from those homes. So we know that when criminals know where the guns are, they tend to go take the guns. And that's exactly what has happened. I saw that in Sangamon County in a case I had, where this man had stolen guns from dozens of homes that were law enforcement homes. And so the Illinois state essentially warned us, don't do this, because if you do, we're not sure we can keep this information secure. Now, that was a few years ago. Of course, they were saying something different when this law was being debated. So that's one aspect of it that's very troubling, this registration. And if you're caught with one of these guns, if resources are used to try to track down people, then you face criminal penalties. It's bizarre that they're going to go after people that have no criminal history, that just simply have a gun that is protected, in my opinion, by the Second Amendment, and then they're supposed to be targeted by the state of Illinois. Meanwhile, folks that have committed multiple gun crimes, that are felons caught with guns, they are not going to face the stiff penalties that they are facing at this moment as of the end of the year if they're caught. So the penalties get less and less and less for criminals, and worse and worse and worse for law-abiding citizens. It just goes to show you that lots of these Second Amendment pieces of legislation are just done so they can issue press releases and go back to their districts, that some of which very much are anti-gun, and talk to the citizens and tell them that, oh, we're protecting you against guns and blah, 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 which is not the case at all. What they're really doing is taking away the rights of our citizens that are protected by our Constitution while helping criminals get away with crime. And that's why, if you look at the numbers, crime has gone so far up in the last year, in the last several years, and people are moving out of the state. I mean, this is a prime example of why that is.
Wow. And really answering a lot of questions for us today, Senator McClure, but it's time for us to take a short little break. We've been talking about the fall veto session. State Senator Steve McClure has been breaking things down for us today from his perspective. It's been really a treat to listen to him speak and break down some very confusing topics. Senator Steve McClure, once again, thank you so much for being here with us.
Of course.
All right, this has been the first half of the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Tim Zalabak. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with Illinois State Senator Steve McClure.
Your information station, WTIM.
Hi, this is Jared White, host of Central Illinois Outdoors, inviting you to find us on the internet. We are up and running at centralillinoisoutdoors.com. You can jump on there to find our Catch of the Week segment. Also, our archive shows. After they air on the weekend, you can find them every Monday at centralillinoisoutdoors.com. So listen when you can. You can also find us on Facebook. Just search Central Illinois Outdoors. Central Illinois Outdoors on Facebook or at centralillinoisoutdoors.com. We'll see you there.
Rolling Meadows Senior Living in Taylorville invites you to make their home your home. Become part of the Rolling Meadows family. Applications for residency are now being accepted. Rolling Meadows offers seniors 62 and older a smoke-free facility with round-the-clock maintenance, controlled access, large kitchens with full-size appliances, on-site laundry facilities, complimentary Wi-Fi in common areas, and more. Call 217-287-2450 to schedule an appointment. Rolling Meadows is sponsored by Lutheran Social Services of Illinois and funded through the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and Federal Home Bank of Chicago. Rolling Meadows is an equal housing opportunity provider.
Hi everyone, Brandon Bible here, your local country financial representative at 1305 West Presser in Taylorville. Myself, along with my wife Samantha and our assistant Nicole Patrick, are proud to recognize the Tornado student athletes that represent our community by being the exclusive sponsor of WTIM Brandon Bible Country Financial Player of the Game during Tornado sports broadcast this school year. WTIM announcers will select a player at the end of each game who will receive a certificate for being named our player of the game. Good luck to all teams this season and go Tornadoes!
I'm Will Perkins, President and CEO of the Taylorville Community Credit Union. TCCU is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Miller Media Group Community Spotlight, allowing a different nonprofit organization to be highlighted on WTIM, WMKR, and WRAN each month.
Christian County Historical Society preserves history in our county. We are open at various times. We are excited to be offering our Tidings of Comfort and Joy dinner again this year. It'll be on December 15th and 16th, and tickets are available from any board member at the Historical Society or at Rebecca's Antiques. We'd love to see you come out anytime and visit our museum, see all the wonderful things that we have from Lincoln's era.
This is Cammie Payne, General Manager of the Miller Media Group. We, along with TCCU, are proud to bring you the Community Spotlight each month.
TCCU is proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Miller Media Group Community Spotlight. Come join us. You'll wonder why you waited. Member NCUA.
Find out all the goods or services provided by DeMichael Floors and more. 1217 West Presser in Taylorville by clicking their icon on the obituaries page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com. Find out about available units at Taylorville's Valley View Mobile Home Park, 913 North Taylorville Boulevard by clicking the Valley View Mobile Home Park icon on the obits page of TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm your host, Tim Zalabak. Let's thank our sponsors that make it all possible. People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. For this first WTIM Morning Show, we have the Illinois State Senator Steve McClure representing the 54th Senate District. Once again, thank you so much, Senator McClure, for being here with us.
Of course.
So that first half there, we talked all about the veto session. There was one more point we would like to hit on it. This is a big one. We're talking nuclear power in Illinois. Talk to me about this, Senator.
Yes, Senator Sue Rezin, who's one of our star Republican senators, she passed a bill to lift the moratorium on nuclear power plants. And the interesting thing about that was that the original ban on nuclear power plants that passed was sponsored by Senator Joyce. Now, since that has happened, in this new veto session, Senator Joyce's son was a co-sponsor of the bill to remove the ban. So technology has changed quite a bit, and now this is going to give the state of Illinois access to cleaner, cheaper energy should the governor sign the bill. And I think that he's going to sign the bill because he vetoed it initially, said there were some changes that he wanted. I know Senator Resin worked with the House sponsor to make some changes. And so now the bill should be signed by the governor. But it was a good win for Republicans in the Senate. And now we should be seeing opportunities over the next few years for cleaner, cheaper energy, which is a win-win for everybody. And it's why it passed with a supermajority of Democrats and Republicans in both houses.
Yeah, this is huge. Nuclear power, it could be the future here, cleaner, safer, like you've been saying. And with new technology, people can be more comfortable having it within the state. This kind of leads us perfectly into more cleaner energy topics when we talk about wind and solar. These are two aspects that are making their way into central and southern Illinois. And what do people need to know about legislation surrounding wind and solar?
So the Farm Bureau was involved with legislation that passed, and I voted for it. It was good legislation. Basically, it deals with commercial wind energy facilities and commercial solar energy facilities. It's going to require them to file farmland drainage plans with the county and the impacted drainage districts. And it is going to require vegetation management plans to comply with, I guess, the agricultural impact mitigation agreement, and ensures that there's a better working relationship with the landowners where the facility will be constructed. And also, there's something in there about the facility owner has to compensate landowners for crop losses and other agricultural damages that result from damage to the drainage system caused by the construction of the facility. And they've got to repair or pay for damage to the subsurface drainage system, and repair or pay for the restoration of surface drainage caused by the construction or the deconstruction of the facility. So a lot of folks are concerned with the construction of facilities that are meant to help the environment and yet can cause severe damage to the land around the facility or to the facility itself, and then the facility moves, and then there's all this damage. So this is really legislation to try to help solve that problem. And so I think that these solar and wind facilities have to take on more responsibility when it comes to the damage that they do in the area where the facility exists. And so this is a piece of legislation to try to do that. And I think that landowners and farmers are going to be happier with the way that this protects them during the construction and deconstruction and during the time in which these facilities operate. So I thought it was a very good win for farmers and for landowners and for the Farm Bureau. And, a lot of people are very concerned that a lot of this energy legislation in the state of Illinois overrides local control. And so we're working to try to get local control back. But in the meantime, this was a positive piece of legislation that will help things move in the right direction a little bit.
Wow, that really clears things up. And Senator McClure, we're in our last minute here, and I hate to rush any part of this conversation, but real fast, you had conversations with Ameren Illinois Electric Company within the Taylorville. Can you explain a little bit about that conversation?
Yes, absolutely. Ameren has been involved in some essentially trying to ensure that air is clean in an area in which they originally disturbed some land that caused bad air to get into the environment, causing people to get sick and to get cancer. And so I've been called by many constituents asking me to look into what is happening at this moment with that area. And I can assure people that I have been in discussions with Ameren, and I'm monitoring the situation, and they know I'm monitoring the situation, and they know Representative Halbrook's monitoring the situation. And so we're in touch with Ameren. And anyone that has any concerns, please continue to get into contact with my office, because we are making these calls and we are trying to monitor this as best as we can. I think it's important for the constituents to know and for Ameren to know that the local state legislators are making sure that our constituents are going to be safe and that the area is going to be safe. And anybody that has any concerns, continue to reach out to me. But Ameren is well aware that we are monitoring the situation. They're keeping me informed.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Senator McClure, for being on the air with us today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it as well.
Without a doubt. That's Illinois State Senator Steve McClure representing the 54th District here in Illinois. My name is Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Thank you all for listening.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241 CF Taylorville, 107.5 W298 CD Shelbyville, 107.9 W300 EH Payne and Nokomis.
October's 0.1% decline ended 6 straight months of gains, though the decline was partly driven